Hey, thanks for watching 4Color Commentary. I'm Mark Allen, and got a haul video today. Went to the Neosho ArtCon today in Neosho, Missouri. And this is not a comic-heavy convention. It is an arts-heavy convention with cosplay and some artists there and some crafts and that kind of thing. There were some action figures there that I was actually tempted by. Wave 2, Marvel Legends Wave 2 action figures. Even the Wave 2 Golden Iron Man with the horned mask that I had been tempted by and looking for off and on for years. Just kind of see it has held steady over the last couple of years in the $30 to $40 range. Just haven't quite wanted to spend that on it, but actually came across one at the con today, $35. And when it came right down to it, I was like, man, there's some comics here. I don't want to spend my money on that. I want to get comics. And even though it's not a comic heavy con, I did find some stuff that I'd been looking for and some stuff I was just really glad to have. So anyway, one artist of note there for me was there. Phil Hester was there. Didn't get to talk to him. And I even took a couple of books to be signed by him. I had a Foot Soldiers trade. I had a Coffin trade, but when it came down to it, his line was just kind of too long. He was in the middle of a sketch. I didn't want to wait, so I moved on. But I did. We're here to talk about comics, though. So I did find some comics. One particular vendor there that I actually got all my comics from 2 different vendors. But anyway, I do have to say this. One vendor had an envelope I'd never seen before. Now, I have both issues of Jim Steranko's, I don't know where Phil came from, Jim Steranko's History of Comics. There was actually an envelope, evidently, that those were mailed in when you ordered those through the mail, that has Jim Steranko art on it. It's wonderful. If this envelope, somebody had this envelope, it's the size of the books. If you've ever seen those books, they're a little bit larger than a Treasury edition. If the envelope would have been in a little better shape, I might have considered it. But he had $35 on it, and I didn't want to try to get him down on that. But anyway, it was interesting. I learned something. Never knew that there was an original art piece on the envelope that those were mailed in. So that was cool. All right, down to comics. Going to go through some of these kind of quickly because they're not my big finds, just finds that I finally got. And a lot of these were cheap comics. I will say I didn't spend over $5 for anything here, but most of these are going to be $1.50 comics, or a lot of them. But anyway, I did finish finally the whole countdown thing. When Countdown was going on in 2008, DC's Countdown, I only was interested in one series or one 4-part story, and that was Arena. And I finally got issues 1 and 4 of Arena, so I can finish reading that the story now. I found a Robin book, Robin Rises Alpha. I never read that, and it's Kubert art, Andy Kubert art, and so I thought, you can't go wrong. It's going to be fun to look at anyway. So for $1, no problem there. Booster Gold, the second Booster Gold series. I've been wanting to read that for quite a while. Have issues 1 and 2, and a few other issues later on. But I had found issues 3 through 10, or missing one issue in there. I think 5 or 6, but there's 3 and 4 and 6. So missing number 5 to get issue 0 and 7, 8. These just always look like a lot of fun to me, and the idea of Booster Gold bouncing around through time, trying to right some time wrongs, sounds cool. 9 and 10. Now this next, again, these are all just dollar books. These next 4 are 50-cent books, but this is a series that came out in the 90s. I don't know how long it lasted, but I remember when I first saw it, I loved the Liam Sharp artwork. And it's J.M. DeMatteis stories. And so some of you out there might know already what I'm talking about, but I am talking about the Man-Thing series, the Strange Tales from the 90s. Marvel tried to revisit those characters. Didn't last for very long, but I always loved the art. And so I got issue 1 and 2, issue 3, and issue 4. And so that'll be some fun reading and some eye candy, for just enjoying the art. Now I mentioned Star Blast last time, last haul video, and I did actually find issues 2 and 4 Star Blast, and so I'm going to be able to read that 4-part series. The tough part's going to be tracking down all of the tie-ins, and I am going to actually try to do that because I don't know why I'm a glutton for punishment. Now I do like I like independent books, especially from like the 70s and 80s, some 90s, but 90s the independent market took off. In the 70s and 80s it was still kind of fighting to get a foothold, and so whenever you saw an independent book that actually looked good, well, on the outside anyway, lots of beautiful covers on those 80s independent books, and then you open them up and it's like, whoa, not the same artist. But anyway, I found a couple that just looked really good, and for $1 I couldn't turn them down. But Captain Confederacy #1, love that cover, and then Captain Confederacy #2. Now I heard somewhat a little bit of Captain Confederacy before, but only, I've seen, not heard anything. Don't know anything about it. I'm going to read them. How bad can they be? They could be quite bad. But the covers are nice anyway. And so, there you go. There's your Captain Confederacies. Now, I like gimmick covers. You know that. And for $1, you couldn't go wrong with the Universal Soldier #1 with the little hologram square there. Now, not the first hologram cover. That honor belongs to Boffo Comics. #1, I think. But anyway, so Universal Soldier #1 with the little hologram square there. All right, now during the 90s, I read a lot of Flash. I liked all through the 90s, almost all through the 90s. The Flash was just fantastic, and there was a storyline there where it looked like Wally, or it looked like Wally's mentor Barry Allen, the first Flash, was coming back. Well, that was a great storyline, and so I found part of that storyline. I don't remember where it started exactly. I think in issue 75, but there's 76, 77, 78. There's the cover tells the story on that. Well, that one's 79. It's Zoom. Okay, the Reverse Flash, and then 80. I got that one because I thought, well, it's new direction. Got that foil cover, the boots and the title and everything. So I thought that was nice. I get that because I always liked that part of that Flash run. Another one that interesting. Now, for the first time, this is significant. For the first time, I didn't find this particular comic in the $1 box. Or 50-cent box or 25-cent box. This actually was a $2 comic. A $2 comic. I went ahead and got it because it's in such nice condition, and I have no doubt this is because of what Marvel's doing with this entity, character, whatever you want to call it. But Star Brand #1, first appearance of the Star Brand, first appearance of the first Star Brand wielder, and $2 on that. So I've got a few issues of that. I just, more than anything, because I like that book. I liked that story. I liked that run. I talked about that last time. Won't bore you with it this time. Now this is another 50-cent book. First Static #1. That's always a good buy for 50 cents or $1 or something like that. That's a good one to have because for whatever reason I never really got well into the Milestone books, but that Static was, I think, about the most popular character to come out of the Milestone books. He was the only character that had his own TV show. So there you go. I got a Blade comic. I actually bought a Blade comic because it also was just $2, but it was one of these exclusive theater editions, and that movie comics sometimes have, and so I went ahead and picked that up with Marvel talking about refreshing Blade for the MCU and bringing him back and everything. I thought, well, that's not a bad idea to have that, set that back, and then we go into mostly older comics, not exactly Bronze Age, it's 1989, but Wonder Woman annual, 1989 annual, I guess it would be annual #2, but just that wonderful George Perez cover and so many different artists working on that book. I thought that was worth the read. I never read any of the Perez Wonder Woman, very little, and I thought, well, you got lots of different artists besides Perez, like Colleen Doran and Ramona Fradon, and I never know how to pronounce her name, Fradon or Fradon. Jan Dersema, and you got Trina Robbins, and so you got some really neat artists in there, female artists, for the Wonder Woman, kind of a Wonder Woman tribute issue. And from there, just kind of various books. Batman number 318, First Firebug, and that was kind of cool to find that, and like that book. That was a nice one to pick up. I always loved this Green Lantern cover because of the stark green and yellow on it, and it was one of these I Quit covers. I always liked the I Quit covers, but I actually owned this one before. It is Green Lantern number 181, with Hal Jordan telling the Guardians, "I quit. Tired of being your whipping boy. No more whipping boy. I quit." So love that cover, bright green and yellow, and I just like it. It pops. You gotta like covers that pop. And speaking of a cover that pops in a similar way, a nice high grade copy of this issue that I haven't had in a long time as far as high grade, and that is the Incredible Hulk Annual number 8 with Sasquatch. Some more of that green and yellow and some orange in there. Primary colors to catch the eye. But like that book. And then actually did fill a hole in my Defenders number 19. Was missing that one, so was glad to fill a hole. Now these next ones, I am slowly, no timetable, no deadline, but I am slowly trying to gather up the first 30, 40 issues of Peter Parker the Spectacular Spider-Man, and made great headway towards that end with Peter Parker number 2, and then Peter Parker number 21. Now, some of these are nostalgia buys. I will be right up front with you. Some of these covers I remember seeing on the rack as a kid, and just that Scorpion cover just really, I just picked that up. It was a no-brainer. Even then, I considered, even then being 1978, I considered Scorpion, of course, a classic Spider-Man villain. And I remember having that one off the rack. I remember having this one, number 22, off the rack. One of those early appearances of Moon Knight going up against Spider-Man. I remember having number 23 off the rack, and Spider-Man facing off against Cyclone. And also has Moon Knight in that one as well. 2-part story with Moon Knight. And so great stuff there. And then these next 2 issues used to be, or these 2 issues used to be kind of difficult to get. But one being issue number 25. Okay, and then issue number 26. All of these I've owned before, but again, these are nostalgia buys. Did not get 27. Darn it. I didn't get it in the same cheap box, but I'll track it down. Issue number 28. I believe that's the first appearance of Carrion, and I always liked that character. He was creepy. Basically a zombie, a walking corpse, And issue 29 as well. Carrion's hands around Spider-Man's throat. Dust to dust. And then issue 30. Okay, so I'm almost there on this run. Got a few of the issues in between 2 and 30 that I gotta get. A couple of issues in the 20s. But so anyway, some great Bronze Age comics there. And then this guy had a magazine box. This is great, because there are some magazines out there, runs again, that I used to have and that I'm trying to build back up again. And one of those runs is the Marvel graphic novels that I used to have. Now, not every Marvel graphic novel hit for me. This was actually one I never read, but for $5, I couldn't turn down Emperor Doom, with a David Michelini story with art by Bob Hall. Now, Bob Hall, in my mind, in my opinion, is an underrated artist, classic Marvel artist. And so Emperor Doom, picked that up. You know how I like reference material and history of comics. Comics feature, and I just realized I don't see a number. December 1986, but I don't see a number on it. But the list of, I'll show you the cover, and you can see the list of artists that are either interviewed or there's art in this magazine by them. But it talks about Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, Jim Shooter, Brent Anderson, another underrated artist, Frank Brunner, Chris Claremont, of course, editor and writer, Archie Goodwin, Mike Grill, Jim Steranko, Charles Vess, Ron Goulart, and several of those neat ingredients for this book, art-wise and just interview-wise. And so can't wait to tear into that and look into it. Now, a couple of the magazines I was talking about. Got Doc Savage, a couple of Doc Savage magazines. Number 4, love the covers. Love the covers. I haven't even looked inside these yet. I don't know about these. These aren't the ones I'm talking about that I've had before. But again, they were no-brainers. Number 5, again, love the covers. These amazing, looks like painted covers for these books. And then these are the ones, this is one that I used to, the run that I used to have, the entire run. Now I'm starting on the, again, no timetable, but starting on the long path to having all of these again. And the first one is the Hulk, number 17, the magazine. Love that green on that background orange. Great stuff. Hulk number 20. Always like that one too. The Hulk, that Jay Jisco cover. The Hulk on the nuclear, at the nuclear plant. That's gotta go. That's something that can't be good. The Hulk angry at a nuclear plant. Nothing good can happen from that. The Hulk number 22. Now, these started out, I believe, this magazine started out the Rampaging Hulk. I think that's right. But went to the Hulk. And then the Hulk number 25. Yeah, number 25. And that's actually interesting about that one. At some point, the Will Simonson Hulk became the icon up there. So that's a Will Simonson issue. Am I getting? I can't remember. My memory is going. I've been reading comics for 40 years, and half the time don't know if I'm getting Walt Simonson. Don't know if I'm getting artist names right or not. But anyway, so beautiful cover on the Hulk. Y'all are out there going, Walt Simonson, not Will, you yo-yo. Anyway, so Hulk number 25. So that's my haul. That's my haul from the little Neosho ArtCon today. Lots of fun, and I was glad to get those. And so now I've got to really start. Last couple of hauls, I still haven't integrated those into the boxes so I got to start doing that. And maybe I'll do a video on that. Try to figure out sometimes how to do a video where I can set up the camera and have boxes everywhere and be putting stuff and just talking while I put stuff into the boxes. We'll see. I don't know if I can pull that off or not, but we'll try it. But hey, listen, thanks for watching 4Color Commentary. If you haven't yet, like the channel and like this video, or subscribe to the channel and like this video. There you go. Do one of those. And anyway, we'll see you again next video. Thanks for watching.